Hi, I'm David Taylor with Twin Falls Estate Planning, and I want to talk about the importance of doing an estate plan. Many people will say to me, I don't feel like I have a lot of money, or I don't have a lot of wealth, or it's pretty easy. When I pass away, everything's going to go to my spouse, and everything that's left is going to go to my children. But here's where it can get a little bit complicated. I want to demonstrate this in a story. What we have is a mom and a dad and 3 children. Now, 1 child belonged to mom, 2 children belonged to dad, so they are a blended family, right? They got married later in life, and they had no will, they had no estate plan, and one of them, let's just go ahead and kill her off here. It's insensitive, but that's the way we demonstrate this. Mom passes away, and based upon Idaho law, all community property goes over to dad. They were married for 20 years, and this is another thing I hear too, is when we talk about separate and community property, we'll explain that in a second, but I hear we've been married for so long, we don't have any separate property. Well, let me tell you something now. When you get a bunch of attorneys together, we find a way, and this is what happened in this case. So mom passes away, leaves everything to dad, and now we have this situation where if you've seen my earlier videos, you recognize that if dad passes away, then everything goes to these children and none will go to this child over here. So this child is the one in our story who looks at this and he says, I don't like this, and I want something right here. He doesn't want to wait for dad to die. He wants something now. So of course the typical story, the potential client calls and says, hey, what do I get when mom passed away? And the answer is nothing, because they don't have a plan, and based upon Idaho law, all community property goes to your dad. And then, rightfully so, attorneys get involved and they say, but wait a minute, maybe there's a chance that there's separate property. And the reason why that's important is because down here, when you pass away, if there's property, if we classify it as separate property, then half of it goes to the children and half of it goes to the spouse. Meaning that if we can find a way to locate separate property and classify it as separate property for mom, now immediately, rather than waiting for dad to pass away, son gets half of everything that mom owned and dad only gets half instead of 100%. And remember when I said earlier that when you get a bunch of attorneys together, we find a way? Well, we found a way and recognized they were together for 20 years. But we still found a way to go back, and we could look at the interest in house, we could look at retirement accounts, we could look at anything we possibly could so that we can find a way to get the son half of all of his assets. Now, eventually this settled, but the whole point was the son wanted to make noise because he wanted to get his estate, his inheritance now, rather than waiting for a chance for dad to pass away, because his only prayer, aside from what we did, for getting any inheritance was that dad would create an estate plan to write him back in, and the chances of that happening were very slim. So it's not as simple as it looks. When you say, we've been married for 20 years, when I die everything's going to go to my spouse, well, that may not be the case. What you should do is come and get a plan, because we can make sure that everyone is protected. We can make sure that if you want, for example, we can say there is no separate property. You can make an agreement between your spouses that say, I don't even want to deal with that. I don't want my heirs coming in and saying they're separate property, I get half. We can eliminate all of that. If you come in and talk to me about an estate plan, we can get it set up so this won't happen.